Today we're going to do some DIY painting by refinishing a fender with aerosol cans only. Aerosol sealer, aerosol base coat, and aerosol clear coat. So let's dig in and get started. Now this is just a demo fender. It has some dents and some imperfections, but this will be a good way to share with you an example of how you can prep and paint a part for your vehicle. There'll be several different situations you might be in if you're painting a part for your vehicle. You may buy an aftermarket fender. That might be pre-primed and ready to be sanded. You might have an OEM fender or a used fender. You could have a part that has a little bit of damage on it that you want to repair and then blend that base coat and then clear it. So this video is going to help you out in all three of those situations. I'll kind of explain the different preparation processes for those situations. So in this situation, if you have an OEM finish, it's in good shape, it's not peeling or cracked, the first step is to clean this used part thoroughly. Now the way we're going to do that is we're going to use some water-based cleaner with a spray away glass cleaner. This cleaner has no ammonia in it. It's not going to affect your paint in any way. So I'll start by cleaning it with this. And then as some additional insurance, I like to use 70% isopropyl alcohol. You could also use automotive prep solvent. Now on a used part, you definitely want to make sure you clean it thoroughly because there could be some leftover wax or grease on that part. You don't want to sand that into the paint. For this project, I thought it'd be interesting to let Darius go ahead and do this entire project. This will be a good example of showing you how to do the process by someone who's never painted with aerosol cans before. Now, if you had some damage that needed to be repaired, you could repair that damage, and then you're going to want to use an automotive primer. I suggest a 2K urethane primer, and you can get a 2K urethane primer in an aerosol can. Now for this situation, and we're going to seal it before we paint it. Because this is red and we're going to paint it blue, we're going to seal it before we paint it. Now what sealer does is going to create a good surface for that new paint to stick to. It's going to keep that new paint from soaking into the old paint. So if you have some repair work you're doing, it's a good idea to primer it or seal it before you paint it. And that'll keep your base coat from soaking into that body filler and causing a dull area in your repair. Because it will soak into body filler. The base coat we'll be using is this GM Blue. For our clear coat, we'll be using the Glamour Clear by Spray Max. This is a 2K clear coat. It has a bladder inside that you puncture, and then you shake this up, and it's a catalyzed clear coat with UV protection. Very good stuff. I've used it on several different projects. Darius is here. We're going to wash this down with the spray away glass cleaner. Okay, now I'll hit it with the isopropyl alcohol. So now the next step is we're going to sand this paint surface. We want to basically remove all the shine, get a good scratch in this surface so we have some good adhesion between our sealer and our paint. For that, we're going to use 600 grit sandpaper. Darius is going to use an orbital sander. We're going to use this Merca sander here with some 600 grit on it. He's going to machine sand it. But if you don't have an orbital sander, you could use something like this or just a piece of sandpaper. This is an ultrafine foam sponge, and you can sand it just like this. Scuff up the surface, knock the shine off, make sure you get all the edges so you have good adhesion. Now this is going to leave a little bit of a coarser scratch than a DA would, but not everybody has a DA, and this is very simple to do. Scuff the entire surface and all the edges to get it prepped out for paint. Okay, so Darius is going to go ahead and sand this, prep it out with 600. And then once he's done sanding this, we're going to go over it with that soft foam pad, and he's going to do all the edges that he can't reach with that orbital sander. Okay, so he's got it all DA'd. We got a nice uniform finish on this. Like I said, you could sand this by hand. So he's going to go over the edges with this foam interface pad, get all the edges. And if this was a aftermarket fender with primer on it, you want to sand it, but you don't want to remove all that primer. I don't like to remove it all. Of course, you want to primer over it or seal over it before you apply your paint. Now that we got it all sanded, we're going to wash it down one more time with some isopropyl alcohol. Can we spray it? This is the sealer here that we're using. I've never used this before, but basically just to create a barrier between the base coat and this old finish. And what he's going to do is put nice even coats over the whole fender. I don't know how wide the spray pattern is on this. First coat you're going to want to put on light. Before we start spraying this, you definitely want to mask up. This stuff is nasty, so you want to make sure you get the proper protection. Now this stuff I picked up at O'Reilly's, but they have similar products at all the auto parts store. We'll see how well it works. Okay, seems like it sprayed pretty well, don't you think?
Yeah.
It's pretty smooth. That's really all we need to seal this. We might do one more coat. That seems like it worked out pretty well. It's really hot today, so we're gonna give it about 5 minutes to set up. See how that corner's still a little bit wet right there? You kind of want that to disappear. You want it to look like this. We don't have to sand this. This is a sealer, so we can put our base right over top of it. Now on the base, we're gonna want to apply that light to medium to start with, and then build up your coat. So the more coats with this base coat, the better. So you want to gradually build it up. Start out with light, introduce that paint to the surface, and then hit it a little bit harder on the second coat and kind of get that medium to wet look. So we're getting ready to spray this, and I'm just checking it out, see if there's a lot of dust in it. We're gonna run a tack cloth over it. So a tack cloth is just a sticky cloth that's gonna pick up any dust, and you're gonna be able to tell if it's smooth or if it's got a roughness to the surface. Now this feels really smooth. I did notice a few little dust particles, so we're just picking those up with this tack cloth, and then we'll apply our base coat. Now we're gonna try and do it in long sections where we go down the whole panel. Now on the clear coat, sometimes if you're doing bigger panels with an aerosol can, it's better to break it up into sections, like do one section and then move down. We're gonna see how it goes. Painting the whole length of the fender, we're gonna do a light to medium coat. Yeah, we'll go ahead and cut in the edges first, and then we'll go ahead and spray the bulk of the fender. Notice how he's overlapping this passes, at least 50%. This will give us a nice uniform metallic finish. Oh, too heavy. That's a little bit too heavy. It's starting to blotch up there. So you want about 5 or 6 inches away from the panel. Okay, so all right, so we got a little splatter here. Dare says it was hitting his glove, so he took his glove off. So we got a little bit of a splatter here, but that'll get covered up when we put another coat on. Darius went a little heavy on it to start with, which is fine. He was feeling it, and it was laying down okay. It's laying down smooth. It wasn't running, but you do want to go probably a little bit less than what he did, a little farther away. So we got a little bit heavy here, and you can see there's like a little bit of a modeling kind of effect there. But that'll get covered up with the second coat. It's not a run or anything. Okay, so Darius is gonna go ahead and put a second coat on here. Maybe a little farther back. This particular aerosol can doesn't have a real wide spray pattern. I'm just going to dust a coat on for our last and final coat, just so we get a nice uniform metallic. A little bit farther away from the panel. That particular brand is it's a little bit blotchy, so I don't know if I recommend that Duplicolor. We're going to see how it looks with the clear coat. So on this clear coat, you need to take the red cap off, and then you put it in the bottom and you break that seal. So you got to push it in real hard there. What that does is that breaks the bladder, mixes the activator. You got to shake it up for 2 minutes after that, and it'll mix that activator with the clear coat, and that's what gives you that catalyzed finish. So we had to take it out of the sun. I thought that'd give us some better light to show you guys what we're doing, but it seems to me it's just too hot out there. Let's go ahead and finish the first coat of clear. About 6 inches away, and slow it down just a little bit. A little slower. This is about the speed you want to go at. Kind of getting the hang of it now. You want it to be slick. We may run it, who knows? We're going to let this flash off because we started to get some blushing, is what they call that. And it's because there's too much moisture in the air. It looks better now, but this had quite a bit of blushing when we initially started spraying our clear coat. So what I had him do is put a dust coat of clear over this whole thing, and now we're going to go back over it and slick it out. So just be aware of that. We're in some extremely hot temperatures today, and what that does is that puts moisture in the air. And if you put it on heavy at first, that can cause blushing. Now, we let it sit for about 15 minutes and it will dry out, and that blushing should go away. Let's go ahead and apply another coat of clear. Finish up this coat. We'll let it flash off and we'll put one more on. So you can see how still blushing a little bit. Oh, it's dripping. It's still a little dry right here. I might just hit this a little bit right here. It's pretty hot today, so we can hit this pretty heavy. Okay, this is after the second coat of clear. Has a little bit of dry spray there. I'm going to really try and slick out this third coat, so it's not laying on really smooth like I would expect when we're spraying this Spray Max Clear. Now that Spray Max Clear, this can is a little bit old. It was new, but it's a little bit old. I don't know if that's having any effect on it, but we're going to put one more coat on. This is a good example of things that can go wrong, things to look out for if you're doing this at home. It's not spraying quite right. Yeah, this can's not spraying very well. Now I think it might be running out. Let's take a look at our clear coat finish. It actually doesn't look terribly bad. It's not like if I were to spray it out of a spray gun. This has a little bit of texture in it. Of course, we had our struggles with it because it's over 90 degrees today. It's probably 120 degrees here in the shop. There's no runs, but there is some orange peel in it. I've had good luck with Spray Max Clear before. This is the second time I've used it. First time, perfect. Sprayed perfectly. Great results. This time, not so great. Although the finish looks decent, don't expect it to be like a professional finish. That being said, you can wet sand and buff this finish. So we've got some orange peel in here. We could wet sand this with like a 1500 grit wet sanding paper or a 2000, smooth out that orange peel, and then polish it out, and you'd have a good looking finish. So not exactly what I was expecting for this video. A lot of little issues, but keep those in mind when you're attempting a job like this at home. I hope you found this information helpful. If you did and you enjoy this kind of content, be sure to subscribe to the channel, like and share this video. I appreciate you watching. We'll see you next time on Garage Noise. To see more, check out this video where I sprayed this quarter panel with aerosol base coat and aerosol clear coat.